It's easy enough to have hot takes about Jenny Humphrey from Gossip Girl, since she was always finding herself in worlds of trouble. Here's a roundup of some of the wildest hot takes Gossip Girl fans have in regards to Little J. Jenny and Chuck having sex was a good thing. Even though Jenny's decision to lose her virginity to Chuck is the reason she got banished by Blair, some Gossip Girl fans are convinced that their hookup was perfect. This hot take states that Jenny and Chuck's hookup session was one of the most pivotal turning points on the show. Not only did it give the actress behind the role of Jenny Taylor-Momsen an excuse to exit the show to focus on her band, The Pretty Reckless, but it also served as a flawless segue into the events of Season 4. Season 4 began with Chuck healing from getting shot and the introduction of Prince Louis Grimaldi. Those were jaw-dropping storylines that would not have happened if Jenny and Chuck never had sex. Jenny was right for trying to file for emancipation. It might have been heartbreaking for Rufus to find out that Jenny was gearing up to file for emancipation, but some Gossip Girl fans are convinced that Jenny was on the right track with doing that. This hot take focuses on the fact that Jenny truly deserved to seek freedom by escaping the strict, controlling nature of her father. Rufus was constantly shutting down her creativity and clipping her butterfly wings so she couldn't be great. His desperation to keep her locked in a metaphorical cage was out of control because she was exhibiting signs of undeniable artistic talent at such a young age. Instead of encouraging her to lean into her God-given talent, Rufus constantly blocked her from becoming successful. So was it really that wrong for Jenny to try and file for emancipation? Not really. Jenny was a more ruthless queen bee than Blair. Some would say that no one was more ruthless as queen bee at Constance than Blair. But there are a handful of Gossip Girl fans with the hot take that Jenny was actually far more cruel and cold-hearted. Sure, Blair did tons of things that were harsh and callous, like trying to humiliate Vanessa, hazing her teacher Rachel Carr, and treating her minions like disposable pawns. But Jenny also was cruelly problematic after she was crowned Queen Bee of Constance by Blair. Jenny was a liar, a wannabe temptress, and a bully. She lied in Gossip Girl blasts she sent in. She attempted to seduce Nate while he was dating Serena. And she boldly bullied Eric, even though he was supposed to be one of her closest friends. While it's true that Constance wasn't a pleasant place with Blair or Jenny in charge, plenty of Gossip Girl fans are convinced that the hot take about Jenny being a more ruthless leader than Blair is valid. Jenny would have been better off losing her virginity to Damien. The overall plot of Gossip Girl might have been better off with Jenny losing her virginity to Chuck. But this hot take says Jenny individually would have been better off if she lost her virginity to Damien Dalgard instead. Jenny's relationship with Damien was as toxic as it gets because he truly didn't give a damn about her. When he first met her, he acted bored and uninterested. When they did start dating, he got her involved in a criminal lifestyle of drug dealing, which meant he was cool with being a terrible influence on her. And when it came to sex, he hinted she wouldn't be worth anything to him if she wasn't willing to spread her legs. All in all, Damien was a terrible boyfriend to Jenny. But the truth of the matter is that Jenny individually would have been better off if she slept with him instead of Chuck. Here's why. It would have meant that she didn't end up banished from Manhattan. She would have regretted hooking up with Damien, probably just as much as she regretted hooking up with Chuck. But the hookup wouldn't have resulted in the consequence of Jenny getting exiled by Blair. So there's that. Jenny's style was better in Season 3 than Season 1. There are a lot of arguments back and forth among Gossip Girl fans about Jenny's fashion sense on the show. The biggest hot take of all is that Jenny's style was actually much better in Season 3 than Season 1. In Season 1, Jenny often wore bright colors like pink, yellow, and green. Her hair was a natural shade of blonde, and her makeup was extremely low-key and minimal. By Season 3, Jenny had more of a goth vibe to her. She rocked super long platinum blonde hair extensions, dramatically dark makeup looks with thick black eyeliner and smoky eyeshadow, and she had a wardrobe full of dark-colored clothing. The innocence of Jenny was clear to see in Season 1, but as she started becoming a more rebellious character on the show, it seemed that her fashion sense rebelled with her. Many would argue that Jenny actually looked much better in Season 3, even though her evolved fashion sense seemed to line up with the loss of her innocent nature. Rufus was extremely jealous of Jenny. One undeniable hot take from Gossip Girl fans touches on Jenny and her relationship with her father. Some people believe that Rufus was incredibly jealous of Jenny, and that's why he was constantly sabotaging her chances of becoming successful as a fashion designer. The psychology behind this hot take is totally obvious, since Rufus had dreams of becoming a successful musician when he was younger. His dreams were stopped in their tracks when he realized he had to venture into fatherhood at a young age, instead of staying on the road and performing music. Seeing his daughter get chances to live out her dreams at a young age was potentially filling Rufus with a sense of envy, which made him want to block her from achieving her dreams since misery loves company. This specific hot take is giving what it needs to give, because the way Rufus tried to crush Jenny's creative freedoms was so disgustingly out of pocket. Jenny was a worse villain than other pot stirrers like Ivy, Poppy, or Georgina. Plenty of Gossip Girl fans never classified Jenny as a villain on the show since they saw her as a victim of her circumstances. But this particular hot take notes that Jenny was indeed a villain, and in fact, a worse villain than other well-known bad girls on the show. Some Gossip Girl fans are convinced Jenny was actually more detrimental in the lives of people around her than the likes of Ivy Dickens, Poppy Lifton, and even Georgina Sparks. One thing they believe made Jenny a bigger supervillain compared to the others is that she was able to hide behind the guise of innocence for so long, even though her intentions weren't always pure. Jenny should have used Dan's secret about the Gossip Girl blog as leverage with Rufus. Another interesting hot take from Gossip Girl fans is that Jenny should have and could have used Dan's biggest secret ever to gain more personal freedom when dealing with her super strict dad. Rufus was always lenient, laid back, and easygoing when it came to parenting Dan. Yet he loved bringing the hammer down on Jenny with aggressive strictness that was over the top. This hot take notes that if Jenny told Rufus about Dan's deviant double life as Gossip Girl on the internet, then maybe Rufus would have shifted his focus. Rufus pretty much saw Dan as the golden child while treating Jenny like she was Satan's spawn. If Rufus had known the truth about Dan up front, things could have been easier for Jenny. It's understandable why Jenny felt inclined to sell drugs. Most Gossip Girl fans found Jenny's drug-dealing stint to be super problematic. Then there are other Gossip Girl fans with the hot take that they totally understand why Jenny got into all of that in the first place. Jenny simply wasn't given the resources to keep up with everyone surrounding her on the Upper East Side. She constantly took blows to her self-esteem because she never felt like she had enough, which manifested into feelings of never being enough. For this reason, some Jenny apologists empathize with Jenny's decision to sell drugs to create her own cash flow among her wealthy classmates who were born with trust funds. No one ever said it was a good thing that she was a drug dealer, but fans with this hot take simply say they can understand her inclination. Jenny should have ended the show as Nate's wife. Nate Archibald ended Gossip Girl totally single after dating a slew of women who were totally wrong for him. Jenny resurfaced for the finale episode, and she was also single when she arrived. Some Gossip Girl fans have collectively agreed with the hot take that Nate and Jenny should have ended the show as a couple. There were a lot of knocks against Nate and Jenny as a couple, but there were also tons of reasons why they definitely could have made it work. The passion and intensity they had for each other was on full display every time they shared screen time. Some fans are even convinced the show would have been exponentially better if it concluded with Nate and Jenny's wedding instead of Dan and Serena's. Jenny's banishment from Manhattan was way too severe. One hot take that has Gossip Girl fans completely divided touches on the level of severity regarding Jenny's banishment from Manhattan. Blair made it abundantly clear that Jenny wasn't welcome in Manhattan after she discovered that Jenny had sex with Chuck. Blair was rightfully pissed off because Chuck was the love of her life, and Jenny was someone she grew to respect as a friend. As a reminder, Blair chose to crown Jenny as Queen Bee of Constance. Blair admired Jenny enough to choose her. Then, Blair faced ultimate betrayal in love and friendship at the exact same time, which is why tons of fans think that Blair was totally justified in banishing Jenny. But others think that Blair took it a little too far by telling Jenny she wasn't allowed to live in Manhattan anymore. After all, banishing a teenage girl from everything she's ever been familiar with is kind of a big deal, and this hot take acknowledges that. Jenny wasn't that wrong for bullying Eric. The narrative about whether or not Jenny should have bullied Eric usually results in people agreeing that Jenny was completely wrong for treating Eric badly after years of loyalty and friendship with him. But a different hot take states that Jenny shouldn't actually get dragged for doing whatever she had to do while trying to maintain her position of power as Queen Bee of Constance. This take acknowledges that Jenny never really wanted to bully Eric. She was simply put in an impossible position in front of her minions who could have instantly lost respect for her. If she had let things slide with Eric, her minions would have seen that she didn't have what it took to replace Blair. Jenny clawed her way to the top and fought tooth and nail to become queen, and she didn't want to lose that power after spending so much of her life feeling weak and insignificant. Jenny should have gone to the cops about Agnes. Why exactly didn't Jenny ever report Agnes to the cops after she was roofied and left alone at a New York City nightclub? This is a burning question from Gossip Girl fans everywhere. The hot take is that Jenny should have gone straight to the cops as soon as she sobered up to explain exactly what happened. Instead, it seems Jenny let Agnes get away with what she did. This is a controversial hot take since plenty of girls who get drugged automatically blame themselves for being in situations or environments where that could have happened to them. But Jenny specifically shouldn't have taken any of the blame since none of what happened to her was her fault. Jenny should have been trying to emulate Serena instead of Blair all along. Jenny spent the majority of Gossip Girl trying to emulate Blair. She wanted to fit in with Blair, she wanted to be part of Blair's circle, and she ultimately wanted to become one of Blair's friends. Her desperation to emulate Blair was obvious to see in plenty of episodes. But one hot take from Gossip Girl fans is that Jenny should have been going out of her way to emulate Serena instead. Serena was an it girl who got attention from fashion designers who wanted her to walk on runways. Serena got attention from boys at all hours of the day. Serena even got attention from paparazzi and photographers as if she was on the same level of Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. It would have made just as much sense for Jenny to emulate someone like Serena instead of Blair. And if that had been the case, Jenny would have never needed to compromise her morals the way she did trying to get on Blair's level. Jenny should have been Gossip Girl. The most obvious hot take from Gossip Girl fans around the globe is that Jenny should have been the one behind the Gossip Girl persona all along. While there are arguments for just about every character and why each person could have easily taken on the role of Gossip Girl, the argument for Jenny is pretty strong. First, she knew that Dan was Gossip Girl all along, which means she was just as manipulative and vindictive as he was, since she was able to keep such a burning secret for years. Her motivations matched up with Dan's as well. They were both desperate to find a way into the inner circle of the popular crowd on the Upper East Side. Jenny's desperation to fit in was even stronger than Dan's, which is why it would have made a lot of sense for her to have revealed herself as Gossip Girl in the end. What do you think of all these hot takes about Jenny Humphrey? Do you agree with any of them? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below.